Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Raccas here, and this is my score predictions for the four major English leagues for this weekend's fixtures. So it is Saturday the 26th of August 2017. We're going to be starting at the Premier League. The first game we're going to be looking at is Huddersfield Town versus Southampton. Obviously Huddersfield, brand new into the Premier League this season, have had an absolutely phenomenal start. I cannot believe how well they've actually done it. I mean, I'm not going to lie, they're one of my teams to go down. I tipped him to go straight back down, and I know it's only three games into the season, but they've started well and they seem to be adjusting. They've had 3 good games, 3 very good performances, and I don't see them slowing down yet. This Southampton team they're going to be facing against, yes, they've got some good young talent, but I don't think they're at the level where they were 3 or 4 years ago when they were fighting for the European places, when they had the people like Ricky Lambert and also Adam Lallana in their ranks. Now the Southampton team, it's going through, in my eyes, a little bit of a transition period. They've got some good young talent in there. James Ward-Prowse is one of the count, Nathan Redmond as well, and Charlie Austin up top, but I just don't think that it's the same Southampton, and I don't think they've got the same cutting edge as what they had all those years ago. And I do see this going as a home win, so I'm going to put Huddersfield down for a 2-1 victory. I don't see them keeping a clean sheet because Southampton do have some good attacking threats, but as I said, they're not the same kind of strength, so I do see them conceding more, and Huddersfield at home, they look like they could be a force to reckon with early on in the season at least, until teams kind of figure out where they actually are against them, but never know. These could be the Leicester of this year. Let's wait and see. Second game we're going to be looking at is Newcastle versus West Ham. Now this is two teams that you should never really be thinking about. If you just look at names, and if you've been following Premier Leagues for like the last 20 years or something like that, these are two names that you would say they're always going to be in and around the mid-table. Probably Newcastle should be pushing and aiming for a little bit higher than mid-table, but they're always two teams you say definitely going to be Premier League stalwarts. Newcastle so far this season look like a Championship side, and a very bog standard Championship side. The bye that I thought they would have had, obviously finishing champions last year, I thought that they would have come into the Premier League trying to let down their marker really early on to say, right, we belong here, we're finally back, let us stay in this league. And I've seen nothing of the sort. They have been toothless up front, they have been really dodgy at the back, and let's just talk about John Joe Shelby's discipline, and that has just been ridiculous. This is not a team that Rafa Benitez should be proud of, and I cannot believe it's actually a Rafa Benitez team. Saying that, West Ham on the other hand, this is a team that's kind of in disarray. Since they moved to the Olympic Stadium last season, they didn't have a great season. They had all the off-field drama with Dimitri Payet. This year, you would think they're going to be kicking on. They've got some nice settled players in there now, and they just not seem to kick on. And this is the reason why I've highlighted this game, is because it's two teams that should be doing a hell of a lot better but aren't. So obviously with them coming against each other, this actually could be a fight for the relegation places come the end of the season. This is how bad I think their start has been. So I'm going to put this down for Newcastle finally going to get a goal on the board, because they haven't scored so far this season, and I'm going to put it down as a 1-1 draw. I don't see this being a win for either side. I don't see Newcastle breaking their home duck just yet, but I do see them scoring. I think Dwight Gale's going to get the first goal of the game, and then you possibly, bittersweet, it's going to be Andy Carroll coming off the bench to head the equaliser for West Ham. That's my little prediction for that. Moving into the Championship now, we've got Barnsley versus Sunderland. Now, Sunderland obviously just been relegated from the Premier League, and all the eyes are on them because they were really floundering last year, lost some of the decent players, and you would think that possibly this might be another team that's going to do a Wigan and go in absolute free fall through the leagues. Seem to have steadied the ship a little bit, currently sitting with 5 points from 4 games. Barnsley, on the other hand, are always that team, in my opinion, that are going to be just in the lower leagues of the table, lower regions of the table. Going to be below mid-table, just above the relegation places. They've got a decent lineup. I mean, there's nothing real, there's no world beaters in that team, but they usually have a very good work ethic and do just enough to get over the line and stay away from relegation. So with Sunderland, I'm thinking now they've got 4 games into the Championship. Fair enough, they are away from home, but they should be starting to lay down a marker now and saying, right, we either want to consolidate ourselves in the Championship for this season, or or we've got to be looking towards the Premier League again. And I think this is going to be Sunderland's little breakout time, and they're going to win this 2-0. I don't see Barnsley putting up too much of a fight. As I said, they've got a good work ethic, but I don't think, when Sunderland get clicking, I think Sunderland will be pushing for the lower regions of the playoff places. Don't see it's going to be automatic, but they're going to be reaching for the lower regions of the playoff places, and I think Sunderland are going to have to start to make their bid for those places right now. Next game we're looking at is Burton Albion versus Sheffield Wednesday. Now, if this game had come up at this point last season, I would have said Sheffield Wednesday 3-4-0, something like that. But what a difference 12 months makes. You haven't got enough money to buy players. Forestieri is their linchpin, and there's rumours about him maybe leaving, which is interesting because I think if he's one man that can drag that team to the playoff places on his own. And since Sheffield Wednesday have been in the playoff places and been that one step away from the Premier League on 2 separate occasions now, they should be thinking, like, third time's a charm. Let's go and make it to the Premier League. I just don't see it happening this year. With all the off-field and how they've started so far this season, I mean, they got 5 points from 4 games, that's fair enough, but that's not the Sheffield Wednesday from last season. Burton obviously not doing the best right now, and they are one of the favourites to go down. And looking at the lineups against each other, just on paper, Sheffield Wednesday have got class in abundance ahead of Burton Albion. So I'm going to have to put this down for a 3-1 Sheffield Wednesday away win. Moving into League One, we've got Blackburn Rovers versus MK Dons. Blackburn, one of the favourites to go up this league, go straight back up into the Championship this year. They haven't started too great. I mean, 1 win and two losses from the first 3 games. Too much of a small sample size really to say whether they're doing well or not. MK Dons are currently sitting just above them in the league on goal difference. I'm just checking the league tables to make sure everything I say is accurate. Now, I think this is going to be a playoff battle. This is two teams that I strongly believe will be in there fighting for the automatic and the playoff places. It's going to be a good early season test. They're probably both looking at this game thinking, I'm really glad it's this early in the calendar, because when it comes down to crunch time, when they're both fighting for those places, they'll be thinking, I really don't want to have to play that team right now. And obviously with it being this early in the season, it's one for them to get one up on themselves and basically just say, right, we've beat one of our potential favourites for the league or for the playoffs. Now we can really see where we stand in this league. And I do think this is going to be a very tight game. Blackburn being at home, I'm going to give them the edge. Ewood Park, it's a lovely venue when it's rocking. But Blackburn Rovers 2-1 winners over MK Dons this weekend. Next game we're looking at is Northampton Town versus Peterborough. Now this is 2 teams that at this moment in time, completely different ends of the table. Peterborough, 3 wins out of 3, perfect record so far, and Northampton Town, no points on the board, 3 losses from 3 games. However, I personally think when everything shakes out towards the end of the season, you're going to see these 2 teams separated by 2 or 3 places. They are that closely matched, I think. Peterborough, very good side. Northampton work their socks off, and if they get a decent manager around them, a decent group of players, they can do some damage and definitely finish in the higher places just above mid-table. Peterborough usually are a streaky team. They usually go on streaks of about, say, 6-7 games winning, 6-7 games lost, 6-7 games winning, 6-7 games lost. And that's how I see Peterborough. And I think towards the end of the season, you're going to see that, and they're both going to kind of work their way around. And I'm going to say they're going to, about 3 places between each other. This early in the season, though, with the way things are going, I'm going to put Northampton to get their first win of the season here with a 1-0 win against Peterborough. And moving into League 2, the hallowed League 2. First game we're going to be looking at is Colchester United versus Forest Green Rovers. Now, Forest Green are a great story if you follow that all the way through. They have come up from nothing. They are a fully vegan team, fully green team, and they've been able to get themselves from the non-leagues into League 2, which is a great story anyway. Colchester always been bouncing around just below League 2, and then they spent a couple of years outside in the conference, and then come back, not last year, the year before. So it's going to be interesting interesting to see where they go. Currently, Forest Green Rovers sitting in 15th place with 4 points from the opening 3 games, and Colchester just have the solitary point from their opening 3 games. Now, with this being at home at Colchester, I think the new boys, Forest Green, have had their kind of like their honeymoon period. They had the exciting draw on the first game of the season, then they got brought down back to earth and had a great win last week. I think that they're possibly going to be looking at this Colchester game as, you know, this is a game we can win. Let's go and give it the all guns. Colchester, again, we're going to be looking at Forest Green thinking, who are these little upstarts? We're going to put them back in their place. I think it's going to be a really feisty game. I think there's going to be a red card in the game, and I think it's going to be a 3-1 win for Colchester. But I do think there's going to be a red card in the game. I think it's going to be very feisty. I think it's going to be battles on both sides. You're probably going to see double-digit shots from both teams in this. They're going to really go for it. But yeah, 3-1 win for Colchester and a player sent off. And now looking into the final game of this episode, it is Port Vale versus Crewe Alexandra. It is the local derby that doesn't get much focus if you're from Vale and Stoke, if I'm being perfectly honest. Vale and Stoke, they are the main rivals in the Potteries. Crewe are kind of the third wheel. They don't really get spoken about in the same kind of vein as Vale or Stoke. It is a local rivalry because there's only, what, I think between Burslem where Vale are and where Crewe is, I think it's what, 10-15 miles the difference, so probably a little bit more. But yeah, there's not much difference between the two of them, but it's just not seen as that much of a heated derby. Yes, we want to beat them. Yes, we want to put one over on Crewe, because currently they're sitting in 10th place, Vale are sitting in 16th. They have 5 points, we only have 3. So I'm going to put it down for a 3-1 Vale victory in convincing fashion. Even though last time I put Vale down for a 3-1, 3-2 win in Wickham, we lost 3-2. So it's probably going to be 3-1 to Crewe, but I'm putting Vale to finally get started at home. 3-1 win for the boys. And that is what I'm going to be putting it. So that is my predictions for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be involved in this series, on the screen now is some of the suggestions and some of the scores from the people who were in my live stream on Thursday evening. If you want to take part in any of the live streams, then hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you've not already. Leave your comments down below for any kind of ideas for predictions that you would like to see for next week's games. Also leave your score predictions down there and I'll feature them next episode. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Raccas and I'll see you on the next one. Try.